For those of you who follow me on Twitter when I'm not complaining about my day job, I've been known to have a witty observation or two. But sometimes 120 or even 240 characters isn't enough to express my pressing thoughts. So on this festive first episode of Didn't Make the Tweet, let's talk Christmas songs. Now, people tend to adore or outright hate Christmas songs. You could say they can be quite polarizing. This is an example of the caliber of comedy you can find at JanitorJoey on Twitter. Now, there are plenty of reasons to dislike Christmas songs. You may not even celebrate the holiday, for example, but I think a big part of the problem is the oversaturation and having Christmas thrust upon you without consent. For a few years now, I haven't been going to malls and don't even have a radio in my car, so I've come around to really appreciate Christmas music. It's the first thing I associate with getting in the mood for the holidays. That being said, I do have to deal with a Sirius XM radio always playing at my job and the 8 other people vying for control of the station. And the Christmas radio has really given me some perspective on which songs I've held up and which ones I dread. So here's a short list of some of the more problematic numbers for me. Alright, let's get this one out of the way right now. Baby It's Cold Outside has gotten a fair amount of scrutiny over the last decade, and I think we can all agree that despite the nostalgia, it's a pretty heinous song. The female vocal is called the Mouse and the male is called the Wolf, for crying out loud. I know it's from a different era and it's meant to be playful and the girl really wants to stay and not being forced to, but social stigma, yada yada. But the woman addresses some real concerns and the guy either brushes them aside or continues this onslaught of aggressive flirting, and I don't know guys, I just don't think it's cute or defendable. The gender-swapped versions don't help either. Now there's plenty to choose from, but I think the rendition that skeezes me out the hardest is Zooey Deschanel and Leon Redbone's ending credits to the film Elf. First off, I don't think either of them are particularly good singers. Zoe sounds sleepy and unengaged, and 54-year-old Leon sounds like he's suffering from a stroke. The real kicker is that these are both characters in the world of the story. I can't help imagining Buddy's new wife and mother of his newborn child being seduced by the cold husk of snowman Leon Redbone. No thanks. I do want to give a special shout out to Lydia Liza and Josiah Lemansky's contemporary rendition.
I wish I knew how
Maybe I'll help you
to
out.
break this spell.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Not that the song's going to be a classic, but for a parody it eliminates a lot of that discomfort, and I can actually see it being a cute interaction with a shy girl unsure about her feelings. I do think the boy is a little too eager to get her out the door though. At least they kept that great pneumonia line.
Unless I catch pneumonia and die.
With that out of the way, can we all agree that I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus is the second creepiest Christmas song? I'll concede that the probable explanation for the song is probably just a misunderstanding. Best case scenario, the boy's dad goes all out dressing up as Santa to deliver the gifts, and has a late night smooch with his wife while the kids presume to be sleeping. The boy witnesses it and either doesn't recognize his dad or is in a hurried shock and doesn't get a good look. No harm, no foul. Again, best case scenario, the little boy rats out his presumed cheating mother Christmas morning, and the parents have a lengthy conversation either justifying the affair or telling the boy that Santa doesn't exist. Bummer, I know. But how's a little boy supposed to broach the subject of his mom's adultery? If he's old enough, and in most renditions the singers are nearly teenagers, he might understand the severity of the situation and hold this guilt, shame, and distrust for his mother for the rest of his life. On the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe the mom really is having an affair with the Santa Claus. The song's certainly not as overt as something like Santa Baby, but who knows how far this rabbit hole goes. A messy divorce, decades of scandal, and who's to say Santa doesn't have dozens or even hundreds of women all over the world? This symbol of goodwill and generosity, cheating on his wife and ruining families worldwide. Maybe Santa's the boy's real father. Santa could have bastard children all over the place. The deeper you dive, the more disturbing it gets, and while I'm no psychoanalyst, I'm sure being witness to this kind of event could be traumatizing for a young child. Maybe a distrust of adults, repression, or stunted maturity. Is it any coincidence that the late Michael Jackson famously sang this song in the Jackson 5? Just food for thought. Okay, here's a minor one. For all intents and purposes, I think this song is a classic. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. It's catchy, festive, and perfectly captures that tingling feeling the month before Christmas. My only complaint is the open invitation for adults to openly mock their children, complete with Nelson laugh. The kids get cool toys for Christmas, and all the parents want are those snot-nosed little brats back in school and out of their hair. How jolly, how festive. Grow up, Perry. I always resented hearing this song as a kid, and even as a senior in college. Rubbing it in that you have to go back to school after Christmas is pretty much the most hurtful thing you can say to a kid. The parents in this song are pricks. That's all I gotta say. The next one is a song that I've only just discovered, but I've already heard it more than enough times to last me the rest of my life. I'm talking about none other than Wonderful Christmas Time by Sir Paul McCartney. Now, this one was the final straw after a long build-up. In short, SiriusXM's been running this special Beatles-only music channel since the summer, and I hate it. Before then, I'd said, that's a great idea. Everybody loves the Beatles. Yeah, everyone likes, their top 20 songs or whatever. Now, I've heard the dark side of all the random experimental crap that sank to the bottom of the band's discography never to be unearthed. But you gotta have music for a 24-hour Beatles-only radio station. It doesn't help that all the non-Beatles music on the channel are terrible covers or just Tom Petty rambling about the band playing the piano poorly. Needless to say, I'm a little Beatles'd out. Well, here comes a new holiday classic where the one and only Paul McCartney throttles the living daylights out of an old 80s Casio keyboard. It's the most vapid, simplistic, repetitive song backed by a bunch of obnoxious synths. The timing's all over the place, and the music video looks like they all recorded it in an afternoon while on acid. Oh, listen to the children's choir, Paul? They've been practicing all year long? Let's hear it! Ding dong, ding dong, ding. And don't tell me the Tom McRae version is any better. And here I thought Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas was the Suicide Watch depression song. I just imagine Tom sitting in an empty room singing to himself in denial on the verge of tears.
About the town to lift a glass and don't look down.
And last but not least, nope, not Christmas shoes. No obnoxious voice songs either. You're never gonna guess this one unless you personally know me. It's the classic 1914 Ukrainian folk composition, Carol of the Bells. Now, there's no controversy about the songs, and I don't have any complaints about the music itself. I just have this deep-seated Pavlovian-conditioned fear reflex whenever I hear this song, and it wasn't even the same song I was afraid of. Let me explain. Around first grade, when most of the traumatic things in my life occurred, I was shown an animated short in my music class. Now, calling this thing an animation is incredibly generous, but it was a short series of still frames from the 80s sent to Danse Macabre by French composer Camille Saint-Saëns. In it, this Grim Reaper guy plays the song on his fiddle, and a horde of skeletons rise out of the graveyard and have a dance party, before flying up into the night sky with some psychedelic imagery. In short, I was traumatized by recurring nightmares and hated the song ever since. But what does that have to do with Carol of the Bells, you may be asking? Well, it's not hard to hear the similarities. And 7-year-old Joey definitely didn't know the difference. So, 18 years of misremembering my own fears conditioned me pretty hard, and I just can't stand to listen to it. And can you blame me? The song is super ominous and intense for a simple Christmas carol. It's not even that much of a far cry from the soundtrack to a slasher movie. It's got an escalating, repetitious motif, and it's just straight up unsettling. I don't care how you dress it up, or even what genre of music you play it in, you can't get me to enjoy Carol of the Bells. For more hot takes like that and more, subscribe to the channel and follow me at JanitorJoey. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Honda Days, and I'll see you in 2018.